The rescue beacon had been silent for 3 cycles when Commander Shakara of the Red Dragon Pack finally traced its origin to the forsaken moon of Terminus 7. Her scales rippled with barely contained fury as her warship descended through the crimson atmosphere. Humans had taken something precious from her clan. 2 hatchlings, barely past their first molt, stolen during a raid on their nursery vessel. The intelligence was clear. A human salvager operating alone in this desolate sector had intercepted their young. Every instinct in Jakara's 4-chambered heart screamed for vengeance. Humans were known across the galaxy as survivors, yes, but also as opportunists. What use could they have for dragon hatchlings except as leverage or worse, specimens for their insatiable curiosity? Thermal signatures confirmed, her navigator hissed, his crest flaring orange with battle readiness. Single human life form. 2 hatchling signatures. They're in the main habitat dome. Shakara's claws extended involuntarily. Prepare the strike team. We go in fast and hard. If the human has harmed even a scale on their heads, she didn't need to finish. Her pack of 12 warriors knew the consequences. They had painted their scales in war crimson ancient tradition demanding blood for blood. The Red Dragon Pack had earned their name through centuries of brutal efficiency. They did not negotiate. They did not forgive. The habitat dome was a pathetic structure, corrugated metal and reinforced polymer, held together with what appeared to be improvised welding. It sat in a crater, surrounded by the rusted hulks of ships the human had presumably salvaged. Shakara's scanner showed no weapons, no shields, no defensive systems whatsoever. Either the human was a fool or this was a trap. Breach in 3, 2! The plasma cutters made short work of the dome's airlock. Shakara's pack flooded in, weapons raised, war cries building in their throats. They moved through the cramped corridors with practiced precision, clearing each room. Empty. 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 Then they reached the central living quarters. Shakara stopped so abruptly that 2 warriors collided with her armored back. Her weapon lowered fractionally, her mind struggling to process what her eyes were showing her. The human sat in an ancient reclining chair, its surface patched with what looked like ship insulation. He was a male, she noted distantly, with that peculiar facial hair they grew and the worn features that spoke of too many cycles in hard vacuum. His eyes were closed, his chest rising and falling in the slow rhythm of sleep. And curled against that chest, wrapped in what appeared to be a thermal blanket covered in small human symbols, were her hatchlings. Zix and Ember, she'd recognized their scale patterns anywhere, slept soundly. Their small bellies rose and fell in sync with the human's breathing. Ember's tail was curled possessively around the human's arm. Zix had his snout tucked under the human's chin, small wisps of smoke puffing from his nostrils with each breath. The human's arms were wrapped protectively around them both. "Commander," one of her warriors whispered, confusion replacing bloodlust. What is this?" Shakara couldn't answer. Her weapon felt impossibly heavy. Around the chair she noticed details her war-focused mind had initially missed. Empty formula containers, the expensive kind specially formulated for draconic hatchlings. A heating lamp positioned at the precise angle needed for proper scale development. Soft materials arranged into a nest-like structure. Medical supplies, including a half-empty tube of scale rot ointment. On a small table beside the chair lay a datapad. Shakara moved closer, silent as death despite her size. The screen was still active, displaying what appeared to be a medical journal entry. Day 23. Found the little ones in an escape pod, half frozen and scared out of their minds. Took me 3 days to figure out what they ate. Note to self. Dragon hatchlings do not like protein paste, no matter what the xenobiology database says. Finally got them to eat the synthesized formula. Ember's scale rot is responding to treatment. Zix's wing membrane is healing nicely. Should be flight capable in another week. They've started chirping at me when I come back from salvage runs. Never thought I'd get attached to a couple of lizards that could grow up to eat me. Mom always said I collected strays. The words continued, entry after entry. Chronicles of feeding schedules, temperature adjustments, concerns about proper socialization. Are they supposed to breathe fire this early? Because Zix just singed my eyebrows off. There was genuine care in every line, the kind of detailed observation that spoke of sleepless nights and constant worry. A soft chirp made Jakara's head snap up. Ember was stirring, her small golden eyes blinking open. The hatchling looked at the group of armed warriors, then at the sleeping human, then back at the warriors. Her small body tensed, and then she did something that made Jakara's blood run cold. Ember growled. A tiny, pathetic sound compared to an adult dragon's roar, but unmistakable in its meaning. The hatchling was protecting the human. Zix woke at his sister's growl, and within seconds, both hatchlings had positioned themselves between the warriors and the human, their small wings spread in what would one day be an intimidating threat display. Right now they looked like angry kittens. The human's eyes opened slowly, confusion giving way to alertness as he registered the armed warriors in his home. To his credit, he didn't scream or reach for a weapon. Instead, his first instinct was to gently restrain the hatchlings. "Easy, easy," he murmured, his voice rough with sleep. "It's okay, little ones." He looked up at Jakara, and she saw no fear in his eyes, only resignation, and beneath that a fierce protectiveness that mirrored her own. "You're their family," he said simply. "I've been trying to figure out how to contact you without getting shot. My comms are busted, and I couldn't risk taking them off-world in my shuttle. Life support's barely adequate for me, let alone 2 growing dragons." He paused, then added, "They're healthy. I made sure of it. They're ready to go home." But when he tried to lift them, both hatchlings clung to him, chirping in distress. Jakara lowered her weapon completely. The war paint on her scales suddenly felt absurd. She looked at her pack, saw the same confusion and dawning understanding in their eyes. "Stand down," she commanded quietly. The human carefully stood, still cradling the protesting hatchlings. He walked toward Jakara, each step measured, unthreatening. When he was close enough, he gently, reverently transferred Ember into Jakara's arms. The hatchling chirped sadly, but immediately recognized her mother's scent. She nuzzled against Jakara's chest, and the commander felt something crack in her warrior's heart. "Thank you," Jakara said, the words feeling inadequate. "You protected them." The human shrugged, passing Zix to another warrior.
"What else was I going to do?"
"They're just kids. Scared lost kids," he smiled tiredly. "Besides, they kind of grew on me." As the Red Dragon Pack prepared to leave with their recovered young, Jakara turned back to the human. He looked smaller somehow, standing alone in his patched-together home on this forgotten moon. "What is your name, human?" "Marcus Webb." "Marcus Webb," she repeated, committing it to memory. "The Red Dragon Pack does not forget its debts. You will have our protection, always. And when these 2 are grown," she looked down at the hatchlings, who were still chirping mournfully, looking back at Marcus, "I believe they will want to visit their guardian." Marcus smiled, genuine and warm despite the obvious heartbreak in his eyes. "I'd like that." As Jakara's ship lifted off, she watched the solitary human in the viewport, waving goodbye to 2 hatchlings who would one day be mighty dragons. And she understood something about humans that no amount of military intelligence had ever taught her. They were survivors, yes. Opportunists, perhaps. But above all, they were creatures who saw something small and helpless and thought not of profit or leverage, but simply, someone needs help. And that, Jakara realized, made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Not because they would fight you, but because they might make you care.